Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out this green artifact ramp deck that's fully rotation proof, so none of these cards will rotate out at the end of the month. This is an artifact ramp deck, so naturally our finisher of choice is going to be Ugin, Eye of the Storms, when we cast it, and whenever we cast another colorless spell we get to exile up to one target permanent, that's one or more colors, so very powerful removal effect stapled onto a planeswalker that can gain additional life and draw cards, or make even more mana to ramp into even bigger things, such as maybe Summon Bahamut, which is a 9/9 flying enchantment creature saga dragon. So on chapter 1 when we first play it, we get to destroy up to one target non-land permanent, so that maybe covers some of the artifacts that Ugin is unable to exile with its ability. On chapter 2 we get to repeat it, then draw 2 cards, and then deal a bunch of damage on the way out, but usually the 9/9 flyer can also get the job done in the meantime. And then we also have 2 copies of Sire of Seven Deaths, which helps us out against aggro decks, where maybe exiling 1 or 2 permanents with Ugin is not enough to stabilize. A 7/7 with First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, and Ward, forcing the opponent to pay 7 life, so an incredibly thematic card as well. And then this is a ramp deck, so the goal is to hopefully accelerate our mana. We can often go from 2 mana to 4 mana all the way up to 7. So at 2 mana we can ramp with Glimpse the Core, given that we have some green mana to cast it, which isn't necessarily a given since we're playing a lot of colorless sources as well, since those include a lot of useful utility lands. And then this deck can also really leverage the UFO, an 0/4 flying blocker, so pretty decent against aggro. And then if we get to untap with it, it can activate to put a land from our hand onto the battlefield untapped, so that's another way to make 4 mana on turn 3, given that we have enough lands in hand. And then we also have a few towns in the mana base to maybe grow the UFO, so it can also function as a finisher. And then we also have 1 copy of the Ironcrag, since it is a legendary, but that's another artifact we can use to maybe trigger Ugin and to get to 4 mana a turn sooner. And then at 4 mana we can keep on ramping with more artifacts. Hedron Archive can immediately make 2 colorless mana to maybe still cast another spell. And then we also have the Ring, which can also be used to tap opposing non-land permanents down, can also come in handy. And then Archive can also eventually draw us 2 cards once we have enough mana to work with. And then Map the Frontier, another powerful ramp card, and this deck does have a few deserts to synergize with Map the Frontier in addition to being able to get our basics, but we often want to search up the Conduit Pylons as one of our deserts, letting us surveil 1 when it enters, so that can also improve our future draw steps, find the finishers when we need them, or maybe find the early acceleration if that's required. And then we also have the full set of the Arid Archway, and this is perfect alongside the UFO. Does enter tapped, so a small drawback, although we can mitigate it with Spelunking, which we'll get to in a second. And then when it enters we get to return a land we control to our hand, and then the Archway naturally taps for 2 mana, so that's a nice way to keep developing our mana while not running out of cards in hand to put in play with the UFO, so these two have excellent synergy. And then Archway can also maybe pick up a desert when it enters, letting us surveil 1 once again, so just picking up the Pylons for instance could let us surveil 1 twice, so that's also quite useful. And then we can also ramp with Spelunking, just a 2-off, but can also maybe gain us 4 life if we put a Cave into play, and we do have 4 of those with a full set of Sunken Citadel, which initially enters tapped, but then with a Spelunking can enter untapped, and makes additional mana that we can use alongside Fountain Port to activate it, make some additional fish tokens or treasure tokens, can also sacrifice tokens to draw cards, since a likely answer to Ugin in this format is Get Lost, so then being able to sacrifice those map tokens to Fountain Port to draw is also a common interaction. And then rounding out the deck, we also have some Graveyard Hate, since the Graveyard decks in Best of 1 Standard are quite popular. So we've got 2 copies of Soul Guide Lantern, which we can always just cycle if it's not a matchup where Graveyard Hate is relevant, and it's also another cheap artifact to trigger Ugin. And we also have 2 copies of Heritage Reclamation, which can destroy artifacts, enchantments, or exile 1 card from a graveyard and draw a card. So that's another versatile answer that can also maybe help deal with artifacts that Ugin is unable to exile. And then we also have 2 copies of the Market Back Walker, which can be played at any point in our curve, also good mana sink, and can also be another source of card advantage. Now the mana base is actually very interesting for this deck, since there's a ton of ways to configure it. I prioritized 4 copies of the Adventures Inn. It's a town for the UFO, gains 2 life when it enters, and we can often pick it back up with Archway to gain 2 life once again, so that's very helpful at padding our life total against aggro. And then I'm also playing 2 copies of Zanarkand, which can adventure to make a hero token with a number of +1 counters equal to the number of lands we control, so it has natural synergy with our green ramp spells. And if we end up playing Zanarkand as a land, we can also maybe pick it back up with Archway, so we can adventure it a second time and make another large hero token, so that can also be a useful interaction in grindier games against control decks. And then 6 basic forests, since we do need a few to search up with Glimpse, or maybe with Map the Frontier if we run out of deserts. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play with reasonable hands. Just need to pick up another land or two to get the most out of the UFO. Opponent red-white, aggro. So it could be an aura build, so then they could have a Sheltered by Ghosts onto. Reclamation away to destroy it. But yeah, best case scenario, just draw lands, and then we get to map the frontier. It's gonna be Felden instead. Can block that one pretty comfortably. And find Archway. So it's a good line to have, although it doesn't let me map the frontier right now. But I can pick up the inn and then put it in play with the UFO to gain 2 more life. So that's still pretty decent. Nothing to reclamation, unless I just want to cycle it here. Yeah, maybe I do. Although there might still be an enchantment like the one we mentioned, Sheltered by Ghosts. That's worth blowing up, especially if they try and get rid of the Sire with it. So even if we lose the UFO this turn, it's already done its job. Percussionist is next. I guess we're blocking Felden. And then maybe a burn spell will finish off the UFO. Can still reclamation at instant speed thanks to the extra mana. Frontline rush. So they control 3 creatures. Even if I destroy Percussionist with reclamation, it wouldn't make a difference. So that happens. Yeah, I think I still hang on to the reclamation. And then I can map the frontier, get another Archway to pick up the inn to gain 2 more life. And then I don't really need another green source, so I can surveil instead. So we've gotten pretty good value out of this one inn, gaining a 6 life against red. Forge is beatable if we can land the Sire. But this is where the white splash could maybe help answer our Eldrazi. So I have 6, 7, 8 mana, so can't quite play Archive before Sire. Alright, let's see if it can stabilize us. The Forge token is probably not going to attack, but it doesn't have to, so it's not like we get to gain 7 for free. Ooh, battle menu, that's painful. So they had removal, that's not an enchantment, so Reclamation's not going to save the day. Yeah, that's effective. And now Virtue, make a token. Next turn can grow the team. So yeah, that battle menu changed the game around completely. So now I just need to hope to top deck something useful. So Spelunking it is. Reclamation can destroy the Forge. But yeah, we're still facing lethal on board, pretty much. Walker can maybe help us block. So, yeah, Pylons needs to fix for green for Reclamation. So then I can only play a 1/1 Walker. Is that even worth it? Or I can map the Frontier, since I haven't played land for turn yet. And then find another Archway to pick up the inn. So I can gain 2 again. And then if I get a Forest, I can still cast a Reclamation. Yeah, that's maybe better. Because the land center untapped thanks to Spelunking. So I can play a 1/1 Walker And then make sure to destroy the forge before they make a token with it. So we're not just dead on board. Siege, not as scary as the forge right now. So we'll blow it up. And then we can jump the Swiss Spear or trade for Percussionist. And I guess we'll jump here. Take 6. Be at 3. Even if I top deck Ugin with an archive, it may not be good enough. Another Sire, on the other hand, could still stabilize me. Okay, so we can map the frontier. Once again, pick up Adventures Inn. And this time get the pylons as well. Surveil. And then I should have the mana to play this first. But I guess I'll be one short of actually sacking the archive as well. Alright. So we're still in it somehow. Although the problem now is Virtue of Loyalty helps the opponent go big. So they can kind of just build up a big board. This does have Vigilance, so we can attack and block. Don't think we'll see an attack right now. Yeah, how much life has this Adventures Inn gained us this game? Definitely made the difference. Need to find Ugin ASAP. Well, there he is. So step 1, sack archive, see what else we can get. Although I guess Ugin's also just gonna draw, so we'll start there. Definitely have to exile the Virtue. Although I might need to exile a blocker first. Can make it the Knight token. See what we draw. Citadel enters untapped. Draw 2, still have Fountain Port available. Another Ugin is useful. Let's see here. So, can just cast another Ugin and then make mana to play the UFO. Now we want to exile a Percussionist. And then I guess we get another Ugin trigger too. Alright, so we should have it covered. Exile the Virtue. Keep the fresh one. Attack. Then make mana, play UFO. And deal with the siege, I want to say. So we should have most top decks covered now. Did not expect to still be in it. But yeah, drawing both copies of Sire against aggro certainly helps. And there we have it, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a promising hand. Can play the UFO, putting in the Archway, which gives us another land to play on the following turn. So yeah, UFO and Archway have perfect synergy up against blue-white. Not sure yet to which variety. Alright, looks like the artifact deck. So at least Ugin can still deal with colored artifacts like Synthesizer. So our plan is just to get Ugin in play as quickly as possible. Opponent's got the bricks on 2. And then can play Archway. Pick up a land. And then I guess we don't quite get to play our 4-drop this turn. So that's the only drawback of Archway in this scenario. Opponent has a Synthesizer on 3. So yeah, we don't have much time to find an answer, because even a single construct token could be a problem. So we can now map the frontier, get another archway, and the pylons. Yeah, we can already cast Ugin. An 8th mana source, I guess, gets us closer to summon Bahamut, so that could still be serviceable. And pass. Another synthesizer. So I'm gonna have to go Ugin, make mana, play Archive, so we can exile both synthesizers, leaving them with just a construct. And then the UFO can jump if needed. Next turn we can summon Bahamut. So yeah, having dealt with 2 synthesizers is a big deal. Bahamut can clean up the 1 construct, so I'm not hating my chances. Casket deals with UFO. Don't need Ugin to have a ton of loyalty, as long as we get to untap with it, it's fine. So no snare to exile it here. Alright, that works. So, do I even need to make mana with Ugin? I don't. So we can just draw with it if we'd like. And then Ugin exiles probably the bricks over the caskets. And destroy the construct while we can. So now we just need to avoid a turn where they can play synthesizer and immediately make a bunch of constructs. Battlefront is one way to get there. Although if we get to untap with Bahamut, we can destroy another token, and yeah, opponent scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We've got a keepable hand, plenty of early ramp. Missing the curve toppers, but hopefully we'll find those eventually. Green-white rabbits, not a good matchup. But let's see here. I'll hang on to the Citadel in case we draw Spelunking, so we can gain life off of it. Sire is a good blocker, but the rabbit deck can go incredibly wide and large. So 7/7, even with all those abilities, may not be good enough. No 2-drop. I guess that's somewhat helpful. For now we glimpse. And then would still need an untapped land in order to map the frontier. If not, we can glimpse again. Curator for Graveyard Hate is acceptable. So maybe it's not a fully dedicated rabbit deck. So then we get to map the frontier. Could go double Archway, pick up double Adventures in to gain more life. Or I can maybe surveil a bunch and pick up a Pylons. Let's split the difference, go Archway Pylons, pick up the inn, so I get to surveil 1. And another Sire will do. And then pick up the inn to gain 2 more life. So next turn we can cast it. Quest Caller grows their 1-drop. Alright, hopefully this can stabilize us. Opponent's stuck on 2 lands, it seems. They found a 3rd. So they could maybe hop to it, make some tokens, yep. And then they could still convoke. For now, Sire still blocks Mightcaller, so no attacks. A Ring can also tap down the Mightcaller for what it's worth. But yeah, opponent still has the Knight Errant convoked, so that can find more action, and this is how the rabbit deck can snowball very quickly. Need to find an Ugin ASAP, and then I can play another Sire. So now double Sire. Can essentially block a 14-powered creature profitably, thanks to First Strike. But I'm not going to be able to attack unless we use Ring to tap down their Mightcaller. And they can also start lining up different blocks. Although keep in mind, if we remove Quest Caller with First Strike damage, we can maybe shrink down the rest of their team. So they don't have any good attacks, since we can double block. Alright, so play Ring, tap down Mightcaller. How do my attacks look like? A bunch of stuff likely to trade. But we do want to reduce their board if possible. Of course, drawing an Ugin would be even more helpful. Don't have to go for the aggressive line, could also kind of just sit back, play large Walker, and then hope to eventually find Ugin to take out some of their key pieces, and then we can keep attacking. Yeah, maybe I prefer that option. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So Walker for X equals 4. And we actively want this one to die. Looking at types in Graveyard, we only have Sorcery for Curator. Sheltered by Ghosts, that's potentially a setback. Although it's still going to cost them some life, and I can double block to trade and draw. I guess they would take out the Sire, but then we would get one back. If they have double Sheltered by Ghosts, then we could be in trouble. But I guess they wouldn't be able to target the Sire in the first place, because they don't have the life to pay. But exiling Walker is still very good, and now they can gain 10 with the Mightcaller. Am I dead to an all-out attack? At 33, don't think so. Well, was not expecting the double Sheltered by Ghosts. Some Rabbit decks do play a few copies. So I can use Reclamation to destroy a Sheltered by Ghost, get a Sire back. So that's definitely part of our plan now. Either way, I'm attacking for 7. Yeah, setting up an ambush is probably the move here. So then I Walker, leaving up a little bit of mana. So let's play one for 3. It's maybe a little suspicious that we didn't pay more mana, but I think it's worth a try. Sanctifier's next. Grow Mightcaller some more. And another hop to it. So yeah, destroying the aura and double blocking with 2 Sires should still do it. So hope they attack. Alright, perfect. Destroy enchantments, make sure we target the correct one. So let's see. It has to be the leftmost one. Perfect. Double block. Kind of want to take the trade here. So we get to draw 3. Still no Ugin, do get a redraw with Lantern. And their opponent's at 12, so they're gonna have to make some ugly blocks. So we'll get in there. Could have also tapped down something with a Ring. But yeah, I don't see them having any reasonable blocks. Yeah, sketchy game, but Sire potentially saving us where Ugin may not have. So next, cycle a Lantern. Could also surveil first with Archway, picking up pylons. Another UFO doesn't seem super needed, although we do have a few towns in play. So offensively it's not the worst. Find a fountain port. So play UFO, ring, can still glimpse. It's probably good enough. Okay. Can they get back into it? UFO is lethal. Now it's one short. Yeah, the Mentor does block Sire pretty well. So don't have any additional towns that I can put in play to grow the UFO, but I can tap down the Mentor with a ring, and that should be pretty effective. So let me start there. And then Archway might want to pick up my adventure lane so I can make a hero token. Our opponent's trying their best to block the Sire. But once the Quest Caller shrinks down, they might end up taking more trample damage. So there's no easy way out. But yeah, opponent's fighting the good fight. And that'll do it. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Just a little awkward that we don't have green on turn 2 for Glimpse. Eventually pylons can filter it. So best case scenario, we draw a forest. So now I can surveil, next turn maybe surveil again, as opposed to gain more life. UFO still good. So we can keep that, play Lantern. Put on blue-white, so we might be in for a long one. Try UFO. And gets countered. I would rather have them counter the UFO than like a Frontier or an Ugin. Now we can glimpse by filtering with pylons. Opponent taps out for stock up. Citadel doesn't do much at the moment. Yeah, I guess we glimpse, and then by getting a forest we don't need to worry about filtering our mana. So far it looks like a more traditional blue-white control deck as opposed to any sort of combo deck. So yeah, can map the Frontier, maybe it gets countered, maybe it doesn't. It resolves, so it can go Archway plus pylons to surveil a bunch. And the Walker's normally okay against control, will draw us a few more cards. So then I don't need to prioritize surveilling again, and I can just play the Citadel. Could have also kept it in hand in case we find Spelunking to gain 4 life, but against control the life is going to be more negligible. Opponent flashes in a flanker, their form of instant speed Graveyard hates, but they're just going to use it to scry 2. Alright, so far so good. We've got something we can exile with Ugin, even if they counter it. So get Ugin countered. Could also wait to maybe play around another No More Lies. So that's also an option. And just start using Fountain Ports. Don't mind putting the pressure on them with Ugin though. Maybe I start with pylons, see what's next, since that might inform my decision. Like if I see another threat, then I'm more likely to want to just jam what I have. Yeah, I can wait another turn on Ugin, I suppose. Play Walker for X equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Tap out completely. Alright, they're gonna 3 steps ahead, counter, draw and discard. So, they didn't use a No More Lies. Doesn't mean they don't have one in hand, but makes it less likely, since that card can expire at some point. So trading for a hard counter doesn't feel too bad. Opponent stocking up again, finding more answers. Eventually, this game could boil down to them milling us out with a Jace, for instance. So it's kind of on us to try and end the game before that happens. For now, try Ugin. Can I pay for a No More Lies? Still a little bit short, but I think I still try it. Since I don't have any great alternatives, could maybe draw with Lantern, see what we pick up. Yeah, Ugin it is. Exile your flanker. And yeah, there's the No More Lies. That feels bad. So I'm gonna hang on to the Archway in the hopes of eventually maybe picking up our Adventure Land to make another large token, or I could pick up the Pylons to Surveil, which honestly could be the priority since our hand's pretty action light. And another Archway isn't really doing me any favors. Do still have double Fountain Port we can put to use, but now Demolition Field can blow one up. And a Lyra Dawnbringer, unexpected. But that can close out the game pretty quickly. Alright, so Hedron Archive, can also maybe draw. Surveil, find Spelunking. That is technically a redraw, and makes future tap lands a little bit more exciting. So it's not a bad card to keep. Play Archive. Could just draw now. And then if they want to No More Lies my Spelunking, I guess they could. So maybe I just play a Lantern out, plan to activate Fountain Port. Exile a stock up. They could force me to shuffle with Demolition Fields, maybe in response to me drawing, so we do have to be a little bit careful. And yeah, opponent's putting the pedal to the metal, with Anchorage getting in there too. So it takes 7. They're gonna explore. So then we're still gonna draw into the Spelunking, can make a fish. And just draw to end of turn. Got plenty of mana, opponents only got single blue up. So it would be the perfect opportunity to play another Ugin. Start with Spelunking. Alright, opponent's gonna pick a fight, change the equation. Fair enough. So no Spelunking then. So I can still redraw with Lantern, unless we want to Surveil first. 3, 4, 5, 6. But then I wouldn't be able to play Ugin if we top deck it. So let's just draw. And there we go. So play Ugin. Probably fine to play another Fountain Port out. Exile Lyra, hit you for 1. And Ugin's just gonna draw. Okay. So they can pressure Ugin with Anchorage. They might have a Get Lost in hand already. But at least we've got more time to draw out of it. Lockdown deals with all my tokens, so we can put Fountain Port to use. And Archive is a bunch of redraws, So we'll maybe start there. Map the Frontier does not have a 4th archway since we surveilled one into the graveyard earlier. So I guess it's just getting 2 forests. If we even have those left, we should. So I might want to thin out the deck before we go drawing again. And then still keeping Archway in hand in the hopes of maybe picking up our Adventure Land to make another hero. So play Archive. Have Fountain Port available. Opponent negates. So they're being pretty aggressive, down to 1 card in hand. Let's see if the Anchorage can go the distance. Take 2, they can explore. They still have double blue mana up. Ooh, and there's Jace, so that's their actual win condition. And yeah, 2 Jaces can mill me out, but still gonna make a fish. Could have also gone for treasure, I suppose, but fish can maybe pressure Jace. A ring, not as good as Archive here. So hit you for 1, sack the fish, see what we get. Problem is, if I sack the fish, then Jace could just plus before it minuses to mill us even more, although that's risky if we top deck another Ugin, so don't necessarily expect him to. So yeah, let's draw. So maybe in hindsight making a treasure last turn would have saved me 1 damage. Might be time to just play Archway to surveil, as opposed to keeping it in hand, because we are kind of running out of options here. Alright, Summon Bahamut is something. It's not gonna necessarily win me the game, but it's also an answer to Jace if they don't mill me right away. Although now they're even more incentivized to, since I kept something on top. They could also force a shuffle with Demolition Field. I do not have an instant speed draw available, so maybe I should have waited until next turn to surveil more. So Fountain Port's gone. I guess this isn't a forced shuffle like it is with Author effects, and I guess I don't even have a forest left. So yeah, I'll just make a fish token then, so we can maybe still pressure Jace, or do we prefer treasure? I'll make a treasure. Fountain Port down. And then we'll decline to search. So we get to keep Bahamut on top. They can mill it with Jace. The ring cannot tap down their creature land. So we'll take 3. And they are going to run out Jace after all. So mill for 15, and they just need a second Jace to win the game. Kind of hoping they plus here. Nope, one's gonna mill. Leaving Jace at 1 loyalty. So I guess that's the downside of not making the fish token. But now we get to surveil before we draw. Can draw twice. Zanarkand makes a large token. So I guess that's maybe good enough. So I can draw into it with Reclamation, or I can keep Reclamation for lockdown, and for now just draw with Fountain Port. Although we're still losing the race to the Anchorage is a problem, so I don't know if it's really gonna benefit me to not Reclamation now to cantrip, but we're more likely to find answers to the Anchorage than we are being able to just deal with Jace if they have another lockdown. So Anchorage activates, can go up to 4 power. Reveals Sunfall. Probably good to keep, because if we were to play Sire, then they can clear it before animating Anchorage for the win. But our opponent says no. Anchorage grows. So I'm gonna have to Reclamation. Opponent once again faced with the same decision. Says no to Sunfall. And then Jace can just plus. Alright, we're gonna need something special. If their last card's a counterspell, it's probably game over. Drew Bahamut, and another Reclamation. So, step 1, cast Bahamut. If it resolves, I can just destroy Jace without needing to attack it. Possible they just have a No More Lies. They have enough mana to animate both copies of Anchorage. So I still need to draw into an answer with a Reclamation. And I have to do it now. UFO would do it. Have the mana to pay for No More Lies. That resolves. So on the board, we're alive. Could still sack my hero token to Fountain Port in the hopes of finding another UFO on the off chance that they just have spot removal left. So that's also worth considering. How many UFOs do I have left? Just the one, it seems. So not loving those odds. I guess one's exiled, so I might not actually have any UFOs left. In which case, just play this and pass. And then we're not dead on board to double Anchorage. That to a J-stop deck. Demolition Field is fine. Sunfall, so they had another Sunfall in hand all along, or they top decked another one. Yeah, that's now game over, I think. Can draw by sacking the hero token. We're gonna draw Ugin, which can gain more life, draw more cards. But they still have enough mana to animate Anchorage for the win. GG's. Close one. Okay, we're on the play with a pretty balanced hand. Multiple 2-mana ramp options. And then 4-mana ramp card into a finisher. For now, Glimpse is guaranteed to get me an extra mana for Map the Frontier next turn. The Surveil is going to go to waste no matter what. But maybe I'll draw a different land and I can keep the pylons for the subsequent turn. Because I either Surveil now and we shuffle, or I Surveil next turn and we shuffle. Although playing pylons is still synergistic with Archway, as then we can Surveil by picking up a desert. Opponent on blue-black, make that Sultai Graveyard. So Graveyard Hate is going to be useful. Don't have any in hand at the moment. So can go Archive into UFO, but then I'm not guaranteed to play Sire next turn, unless we draw land. Whereas if I Map the Frontier, we should be good to go. So Forest on top, but doesn't matter. So get an Archway and another Pylons probably. Don't want to pick up any other specific land. Archway, pick up a desert, so that lets me Surveil, and then Pylon Surveil again. So I don't need to keep land 8 since we have land 7 in hand already. Can look for Graveyard Hate or alternative win conditions. Yeah, I think that's fine. Opponent's got their own pylons. And yeah, it looks like more of a reanimator deck than just a graveyard deck. So give myself the best chance to draw into some graveyard hate. I've got 4 pieces, but doesn't look like we'll get there. I don't know if I can beat Valgavoth all that easily. So if they have a Zombify, that could be the game. So then maybe I do need to prioritize Pylons, Surveil, draw with Spelunking, and then hope to get there. Adventurous Inn's not gonna do it. So yeah, we could just cast a Sire, but I don't think that beats Valgavoth. So we'll Spelunking, and then I can still archive into UFO at the very least. Alright, we did not get there. So archive UFO it is. Glimpse is essentially 1 mana to get a forest, thanks to Spelunking. So we're a bit light on action. Opponent could also be playing with the 3 mana reanimation spell. That counts number of permanents. And Larcenists, I guess, makes me happy that I didn't play the Sire beforehand. So, now what? Could still draw with Archive to look for graveyard hate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if I draw lands, I can still play Sire regardless. Sure, we'll give it a shot. Alright, we got there with a Lantern. Won't be able to play Ugin now, but yeah, I'll take the Lantern. So then I can Glimpse and get a forest. And Glimpse again and get a forest. Play Lantern, exiling Valgavoth. Keep Lantern available for now. And then Archive is a nice follow-up to Ugin to get an extra trigger. So we made it our mission to aggressively dig for graveyard hate. We found it. Let's see if it pays off. Awaken can destroy a non-land permanent. Maybe goes for Spelunking, maybe forces the issue on Lantern. Alright, so do we care about their graveyard? Not really. I'll just draw. Reclamation is more instant speed graveyard hate, so that's perfect. Alright, for now Ugin. We should be tapping the pylons manually, since I would prefer green mana. Exile your Awaken. This has Ward 1. So I could play Archive, pay the ward. And then I guess this is no longer a treasure, so then I cannot Reclamation, but I probably don't care about keeping up Reclamation this turn. Okay. Alternatively, could have sacked the UFO as a treasure to keep up Forest, and then we can still Reclamation at instant speed. But they don't have anything in graveyard, so I guess worst case scenario, they play a Surveil land. But yeah, it's just a Squirming Emergence, the card I was mentioning earlier. Get back Larcenists. But it's only going to be briefly. So that's fine. Now I can still Reclamation, I suppose. Ugin takes 1. Citadel's untapped thanks to Spelunking. Ugin just wants to draw. Plays Sire, leaving up Citadel with Fountain Port. That's also a combo. Alright, we should be in excellent shape. can still activate UFO, put Citadel in. And our opponent scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a functional hand. Still missing the payoff cards, but we've got some good early ramp. Can play a Lantern on 1 just to get it out there. Turn to Glimpse. Alright, opponent milling an Esper Origins, already a fine target for Lantern potentially. And then we will be able to map the frontier next turn if we Glimpse. And then Archway can pick up the Inn at the very least to gain 2 more life. So our opponent may be on a Naya Yuna deck, so then the graveyard hit from Lantern's quite relevant. Don't want to pull the trigger on it too early. For now, map the frontier. Can get Pylons plus Archway. Maybe I care about the Surveil more than gaining 2. And can pick up the Pylons. So then we get to Surveil 1 twice. Spelunking's pretty decent with Archway. It's not a threat, but it does replace itself, so I think I keep it. And then, knowing about Spelunking, I guess I can pick up the Inn now. And there's Joshua, so definitely looks like a Yuna deck. Another Esper Origins discarded, but no big enchantments yet. So yeah, we have to decide if it's worth it to just exile the Esper, or if we wait for something bigger. Let me start here. Ugin's a good one. So now Archway's untapped. Can pick up another Desert in order to Surveil 1. So it can go full control, float mana with the Pylons. Could also just put the Inn in play and then play Archway, picking up the Inn again. That seems fine too. Do I have enough mana to play Ugin? 4, 5, 6. Gonna be 1 short this turn. Play Iron Crag, even though I could keep it until after we play Ugin for an extra exile. And then I'm okay if they flash back Esper Origins as their turn. Can just pass. Take 3 from Joshua. And our opponent's gonna make use of the graveyard while they can. We can make a fish. Opponent did enable Delirium while putting a Fear in the graveyard. Alright, so play Ugin. And then we still have options afterwards. Archway now picking up Adventures in versus Pylons. I guess we want to surveil, look for more colorless cards to trigger Ugin. UFO should work. So play Ugin. Exile your stuff. Can draw. Play UFO, exile more of your stuff. And keep Lantern available for Yuna. And our opponent explodes, I'll take it. Alright, so we got to see this mono-green ramp deck in action. And yeah, it's definitely got some cool interactions with Archway and the UFO. The top end is customizable, but I've been quite happy with both Ugin and the Sire. The deck kind of naturally ramps from 2 to 4 to 7 mana, so having your curved toppers cost 7 mana is not necessarily a problem, but there's a lot of ways you can customize the deck going forward, a lot of utility lands to choose from. Maybe we want some non-basic land hate to deal with opposing creature lands like the Anchorage. That's certainly an option as well. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.